Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the Hong Kong Sevens quarterfinals. This one's South Africa taking on Australia, and this is a massive match to have as a quarterfinal. The winner of this game goes on to face the winner of New Zealand versus Fiji. So a lot of top sides all on the same side of the draw. And of course, this game's going to be do or die for these two sides in terms of their Hong Kong Sevens dreams. But looking through at the South African starting lineup, it will be Kua Nokia, Ryan Oosterhuizen, De Wald Human, Sean Williams, Shilton van Wyk, Zane Davids, and also Christie Robillard. Then for the Australians, Henry Hutchinson, Nick Maloof, Maurice Longbottom, Hayden Sargent, Nathan Lawson, James Turner, and Dietrich Roach. A lot of importance around this game. The winner goes on, like I said, to face either New Zealand or Fiji. Australia beating Fiji earlier on in the competition, 12 points to 0. Of course, one of the main talking points about this Australian side is the man who is coming off the bench for them, Michael Hooper. He's had a little bit of a stop-start start, I guess you could say, to his Hong Kong Sevens campaign. He's had some good moments, he's had some not so good moments, but this is his first playoff game. So, of course, want to make an impact. Did you watch the Chiefs whip Moana Pacifica? I did see moments of that game. Of course, we were doing the Sevens commentary a little bit beforehand and also doing some editing during that game. But yeah, the game went exactly how I thought it would, if not maybe a little bit more in favour of the Chiefs than a lot of people anticipated. But this round of Super Rugby so far, it's been around. You know, it hasn't quite happened the way that people wanted per se. Like the Waratahs versus the Brumbies, I think is going to end up being the best game just for the sake of it maybe being the closest. And Hamish Hello says, Gareth, welcome in, mate. Did the game get rained off for day number one of that one that I was supposed to be watching, Gareth? Because I looked online and I could only find 2 hours worth of it, and it didn't look like the covers ever really got off. So tell me, Hamish, what did you do on Easter weekend? Says Morning the Grange. Absolutely nothing in terms of going out and about. We ended up streaming the whole of Easter weekend, and now I'm very sick, unfortunately, but that was not due to Easter weekend. That was due to filming with George. But now kicking off for the Australians, going from left to right, decides to give it the big hoof downfield, looking for almost what would be a 50-22. Of course, do not have those in sevens, but it would have been a great territory gain for the Australians had the ball gone out. South Africa, they will go for the kicking of their own, booting it down the middle of the field, and that is a massive boot down to the 22. Australia have got this ball in their hands. Maurice Longbottom now driving up the middle of the field. Missed tackle from the South Africans, which leaves a lot of space. De Wald Human has to muscle up and get the one-on-one tackle, which he's been able to do. Nick Maloof pass out wide to Jimmy the Jet Turner. They will not catch him, or they do. Great last-ditch effort from Kua Nokia. If he waited half a second more, they weren't going to be able to stop him. But now Maurice Longbottom, ball still in the hands of the Aussies. Was a little bit low from Nathan Lawson, or in terms of the pass that he received. Ball's still going to be there for the Australians. They win the penalty in year rain. Don't forget to put your clocks back before you go to bed tonight. That's for us New Zealanders. You are sick. What did you eat? Says Mono Grange. No, I didn't eat anything. I just caught a flu of some sort. That YouTube, they don't like the word, but yeah, I tested positive for something, which is not ideal. And it's hit me pretty hard. But now Maurice Longbottom cuts it across field. Nick Maloof charging up the middle of the park. Now Maurice Longbottom goes off to the right-hand side. Space for Sargent. Puts it on the outside to Lawson. And Australia score the first try of this quarter-final. South Africa, other than that kick downfield, they have not really touched the ball. And I think that is something that Australia will definitely want to keep as their tactic. Maybe that one, Gareth. Yeah, maybe. I actually forgot it was called that for a second. I've only remembered it as the 5-letter word one. And I says Verlaine, or Valini. Hopefully I said that correctly one of those 3 times. Go Hoop says Hanoi. And I hope you are better soon, says Mono the Grange. So do I. We've got a big weekend ahead of us. Like, we've got 2 more games of the Champions Cup, and even though I'm pretty sick, I'm still going to do those 2 games, which probably isn't recommended by doctors, but we're going to do it. There's too much good rugby on to miss it. And speaking of good rugby, 5-0 at the moment for the Australians. 4.5 minutes remaining in this first half. Maurice Longbottom to kick this one off again. Last time he went long with the kick, and they've done it again. That seems to be the tactic at the moment. Nicely run forward for Zane Davids. Off his feet there, I thought, for the Australians. So he's probably got lucky not to end up getting penalised. Sargent takes the quick tap, but he's knocked that ball on and he slams it down. He is not happy. Drop and give him 20 because that was not what the Sargent was supposed to do there. Now scrum feed going to be in favour of the in favour of the Blitzboks. Seriously, YouTube don't like the word? No, they don't. They normally put a whole heap of like added stuff in your description if you say it. It went through a patch of like how they'd give you all this, like they'd talk about the government guidelines and everything like that. So that's why you don't normally say the word. Can you Super Rugby Pacific? We are going to be doing Super Rugby Pacific next week. The last game of the weekend is actually going to be taking place at the moment. I bought ivermectin from a dodgy corner store, maybe better in 2 days. What is ivermectin, Hanoi? I have no idea what that is. I feel like you probably know the see, I don't know what that is. I was trying to work out what it would be. I have no idea. But now ball is going to be fed in by the Blitzboks. Sean Williams going back across to the right-hand side to Walt Human. Nicely taken by South Africa. Dietrich Roach having to make a big tackle. And I should mention there was a little bit of rain falling a bit earlier on. I think Henry Hutchinson just hit the ball with his face. It's ruled as a knock on. Surely that's not against him. Did the referee just say it counts as a knock on if you headbutt the ball? Surely he did not just say that. Because if he did, then that's not true. Go Aussies go. Says Kaliapa there. Yeah, I think they've ruled Henry Hutchinson knocking the ball on by hitting it with his face. That is a new one. But it means that South Africa have now got themselves a scrum feed. This is the perfect opportunity to get back into it. It's derived from a cattle dewormer. Used legally in India and other countries to treat, you know what? Used to kill worms and farm animals. George will have some, says Gareth. Now Sean Williams, big crashing run forward, tackle by Nathan Lawson to Walt Human. Passes it across for the Blitzboks. They need to get back into this contest by the time we get into halftime. As Michael Hooper playing, he is playing in the second half of this contest. Now back across James Turner. He was looking up to where he wanted to run before he could run there. And that is another, I guess you could say, schoolboy era per se from the Australians. Have you seen the Crusaders game? Says Valine. I have not, no, because the Crusaders have not played this weekend. They had the bye, but they are going to be going head-to-head with the Waratahs next week. So we'll see how that ends up going for the Crusaders. But yeah, there's been some very one-sided games throughout this weekend of Super Rugby Pacific, and it's a bit of a shame. I feel like we wanted 1 or 2 close games. Like the Brumbies are currently running away from the Tars, 15 points difference between those two. Can you describe your illness, says Mornay? I feel like there are a lot more people who would rather I describe what's happening in the game than describe what my symptoms are. But now going back across the ball, German pass on the outside to Kieran Nokia. Now that's a penalty won by Australia. Locking himself over the ball there was Nick Maloof. Thoughts on David's suspension, but soft no, says Dano Rogers. I honestly thought that he'd be... Wait, which Davids we talking? We're talking Selvin Davids, aren't we? That was in the... Wait, what game was that in? That was in the game... No, did we cover all of South Africa? Selvin Davids or Gerald? Justin Gerald's suspension? Yeah, in the Samoa game. I covered that game on the channel and I can't remember what happened in there. I know that Justin Gerald got himself red carded in the first contest. Did he get a red card? I swear we only covered that game like 7 hours ago and it's completely like gone out of my mind. Now Nick Maloof passed it across for the Australians. Dietrich Roach now looking to kick this one downfield. Sean Williams having a chase after this one. At 3, I went and watched the Football Ferns 4-0 versus Thailand. Yeah, did. David also got suspended for a high tackle, says Dano. So the fact that I can't even remember it probably tells you how soft it theoretically was. Like, I don't even remember it. I'm going to have to go back and watch that game to see what it was. We literally did the commentary. We would have called that yellow or red card that he got. How did Hutchinson end up in the scrums? He's a fast outside back, says Hanoi. So they actually have him down as a forward. Normally packs the scrum next to Michael Hooper now, who is going to be making his way off the bench later on. Darren Adonis receives another offload there. Blitzboks keeping this one alive at the moment here. Just before the end of the first half, Australia still with that 5-0 lead, looking to keep it that way before getting into the second half. It's kicked downfield. Henry Hutchison has to clean that ball up. Wasn't able to kick it into touch as he was held by the Blitzboks. James Turner kicks it out now. And at halftime, it is going to make the score 5 points to 0. Yeah, he did. And also, we have got there, will you be better by next weekend? I'd like to think so. If I'm not, then we've got a serious problem. Come on, South Africa says D7. And also, we have got there, and the chat as well. Long COVID. South Africa Cape Town. With irritating symptoms, says Goldberg. Do you think that Australia is New Zealand's brother or sister? I would say the big brother is normally the way that I'd describe Australia for New Zealand. Like, at the end of the day, there's a rivalry there, but a lot of people don't get too involved in that rivalry, if that makes sense. Like, it's there, and there's a bit of hostility at times. Like, the Bledisloe Cup, of course, everyone wants to see it be a little bit more competitive. In the cricket, they always beat us in test match series here. But, like, there's still that mutual respect of, like, yeah, you're both decent at sport type thing. Who do you think going to be in the Super Rugby Pacific Finals? I think that the Hurricanes have got a really good shot at the moment. I think that either the Chiefs or I don't know about the Blues. I'm still not sold on them yet for this season. I feel like they've done some very good things throughout the season, but I worry that once a side puts them under pressure, that's when their discipline is going to fade like it has in past seasons. And when's New Zealand playing? They are going to be playing in only about 10 minutes time, or maybe 15 minutes time, and that is going to be up against the Fijians. We are also covering that one on the channel. So anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Morning, says Flesh, and welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing well. Also, I hope you guys did enjoy that Harlequins versus Glasgow game that took place for the Champions Cup. I wasn't able to cover it on the channel, unfortunately, as we were pretty much unable to get out of bed, but I caught the final moments of that contest, and the cross-kick attempt from Glasgow seemed like an interesting choice. And such as Cheslin and Quacker made the box. Do you think any of the current Blitzboks should have an opportunity to play for the 15s? South Africa has a lot of competition in terms of depth, but we've seen some past Blitzboks. I mean, the closest at the moment, I would say, in terms of the transition, is probably JC Pretorius. But then saying that, I feel like there's still a wee way to go for that. Maybe like a Christy Hrobela. As a cracker, says Fleshin. I don't know who else. Maybe Shilton van Veek if they wanted to turn him into maybe a wing option or a centre. I don't know whether they'd go for Selvin David, seeing as he is a bit closer to the end of his career, though. Aborted. An attempt to try and sneak into Hong Kong Stadium, says the big V8 show. Of course, Tim is actually at the stadium at the moment, Rugby Itch. I haven't seen him as of yet, but I know that he's sitting at the... He might be in the south stand or he might be the opposite end. Either way, he's at one of the ends. But it's now going to be kicked off for the second half. The boys are pulling into the chat, says Gareth. And the same boys, that sounds a bit dodgy, but hopefully you guys are going to be popping in for the 2 Champions Cup games. You will have to try and keep my sanity. If I slowly look like I'm losing my mind, you got to try and remind me of my name and everything like that. And the winning try was a forward's wet dream, says Fleshin. But yeah, I found it so brave of Glasgow to go for the cross kick when they did. Because, like, if it had worked, yes, it's good. But you also, you know, you can't risk it. That's a wide cut-out pass. It was risky from the Australians, and it's bounced over Lawson and behind him. We have got their self-standards where the 18-plus fiends go to party, says the big V8 show. I hope the Blitzboks get some magic. Thanks, Average, for your commentary, South Africa, Cape Town. And what's your thoughts on 15s player playing 7s for New Zealand? Says Relisha. I mean, we saw Caleb Clark try it, although he never got any game time. So, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just kind of depends a little bit on the player and your ability to adapt. Michael Hooper, he's now making his kind of 7s debut this competition for the Australians. He's, I don't think, too far away from making his way onto the field. Can you play Rugby Challenge 4? I know that there's a new rugby game that's supposed to be coming out soon for early access, so we're hoping to play that right when it comes out. But we might play a bit more Rugby Challenge 4 in the quieter season. Alright, it's an 18-plus fiend. Please playing for us so Hamish can inform the world, says Gareth. Back across to the left-hand side. Chance here for Adonis. Puts the ball on the inside. Kick downfield from James Turner. This game hasn't really felt fully, it's a little bit of it's open, but it's not open at the same time, if that makes sense. Like, there's been so much space, but there hasn't been much opportunity to make the meters end upon. There's Novmam. Now loose ball. Christy Robela has to jump on it for South Africa. They are only 5 meters out from their line, and it's another penalty going the way of the Australians, who take the quick tap. Dowling with the skip pass over the top to Maurice Longbottom. And with 5 minutes remaining, they've got themselves their second try of the contest, Australia. I felt the winger who was the target was covered, says Fleshen. And yeah, I feel like it was always going to be, like, it was George Horn out there too, a replacement halfback. So he's not the biggest bloke. So if he gets lined up by the bigger, like, opposite number in that scenario, he probably gets driven into touch and the game's over anyway, type thing. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird choice. Game over now, I guess. I wouldn't say that necessarily. The fact that Australia missed their first conversion means that there's still a chance for the Blitzboks to get back into this one. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether or not they are able to do so. Irresponsible adults like us. That kick has gone over, though, for the Australians, which now makes the score 12 points to 0. There are men dressed as rugby balls. There are people dressed in all sorts of attire at the Hong Kong Sevens. And the party will keep on going all the way through tomorrow, where the finals of the Sevens will be taking place. But it's kicked off high. Kua Nokia lined up early by Henry Hutchison. Ball bounces out on the side of the Australians, but it was illegal, so it does mean that South Africa once again get themselves the penalty. The one spreading the plague that Hamish currently has, says Gareth there. And surely Longbottom gets an opportunity for the Wallabies 15s at number 9. Oh, it's an interesting take. I don't think I've ever heard someone say that he could be a halfback option. I don't even know if he wants to be. That's the other thing, though, that makes it a little bit more tricky. If he's happy playing sevens, it's probably the case of, he'll probably just stick around in the sevens area. How do you think the new coach is doing for New Zealand Sevens? I think he's bringing a good mindset and mentality to the team, I believe, because we're seeing more try celebrations, which some people will call arrogance, but I think it's more just trying to create character in the team environment so that they all are kind of bonding over being able to celebrate their teammates, if that makes sense. We're now going back on the inside. Henry Patterson, I see one of the South African players has stayed down, but that is brilliant work from Impefesa, who wins the turnover. Now Shilton Van Vyk takes the quick tap, gets it away to Darren Adonis, goes back on the inside for the South Africans. It is currently a retreating game, and I believe they are still playing with 6 on the field, and that is another penalty going the way of the Australians. Now, South Africa are actually really limited in the amount of players that they've got available for this matchup. They had, of course, 2 suspensions involved. The player is still down. I think it is Sean Williams. We saw an awkward roll for Ronald Brown in the last contest against these Samoans. That's the only card I remember from that game, but someone said there was a red card suspension for Davids. Nick Maloof at the moment just firing up his Aussie side. They need to avoid 2 converted tries, or at least 1 converted, 1 unsuccessful. That would take us to golden point time. We've already seen 1 quarterfinal go to that at this point. Uncle Sven does magic on my infection last night. Says Fleshen, I'm sorry to ask you, this is your illness curable? Says Morning, yeah, she'll be right. It'll go all right, I think. Oh, Australia are taking a shot at the post here. This is a tactic you don't see too often. The Ponies won against the Flowers. There's Novmum. We're now lining up this kick, Maurice Longbottom. This is going to be from about 37 metres out on the drop kick to try and extend this Aussie lead. He's going to use up as much of his 30 seconds he has allocated as he can. He struck it well, and it's gone over. So that is going to make the score now 15 points to 0 in favour of the Australians. They are one of the only sides that I have seen in the Seven Circuit this year incorporate 3-pointers in regular time. Sometimes you see a side do it in golden point, or sometimes you see a side do it after the final whistle. But Australia, with 2 minutes left, game management seems to be something that they are certainly happy with. They caught it from Halloween Girl. I remember get that checked. See, as Gareth now, she's been away for a long time. She's been away so long, she's got a husband and a child at the moment from that Halloween. And I miss the old South Africa Sevens, says Justin. That's the thing, though. Their side isn't that different. Like, yes, there's a few new players in there, but there's still some fantastic team members that should be able to do better than some of the results say that they have, if that makes sense. Like, they've never won in Hong Kong, so there's a bit of a stigma around that in terms of just not quite being able to get over that final hurdle. In this case, they haven't got over the third final hurdle, if that makes sense, seeing as they still had two more to get themselves that title. But back across to the side means that South Africa in the last 100 seconds or less in this game will have to score themselves 3 tries. Australia have won this game, no chance they lose, says Christian Rush. Now big run forward again from Lete Belly. Don't even know if they brought Michael Hooper onto the field yet, but that is another penalty being won by the Australians. They need their Bok 9, the fast short new guy. Says Hanoi, I assume you're talking about Ricardo James Duarte, and yes, he is a sensational player when he's available. I think they're also missing Sifuwe Soyuz-Wapi. What do you think of that attack on Kurtley Arnse? I think it was a red. What do you think? Says Morning in the Grange. I thought it should have been a red, and smart play the Aussies. Says Kiliapa, that one has gone into touch. 50 seconds remaining. Looking forward to seeing what the Australians do in the Rugby Championship. And yeah, that is just around the corner too. Like, I know we're only in the 4th month, but you know, we've got July internationals coming about 3 or so months away. Now we're into the action of the Rugby Championship. Which players would you start to face Fiji? Says Relisha. I mean, I can tell you who they have started at the start of the next one, but normally, you know, up against the Fijians, it's hard to tell because they have gone with quite a young side for a majority of their group stage fixtures. So whether or not they mix that up a bit more for the final or whether they go with an all-out strength lineup, we'll have to wait and see. But 10 seconds remaining on the clock. The Australians getting very close to being able to close out this game with a victory. Maurice Longbottom goes off to Michael Hooper. Has a run there. The last thing that they want is for him to get injured, though, in the breakdown. Now the big man taken down nicely. Looked like he was almost kicking upwards for one of the Australians. And that one has gone into touch. And Australia have won this game, some would say comfortably, 15 points to the 0, but nonetheless, that means that they will go on to face the winner of New Zealand versus Fiji. The loser of that contest will play South Africa. So no matter what, we're getting 2 great games that are just around the corner. It's a quarterfinal, it certainly is. And Hooper's lifting Sevens players. He's done it to test players for years. Says Hanoi there. And Argentina beat terrible. Why? 17-0 yesterday against New Zealand. In fact, 22-0. Up against New Zealand, just to make it a little bit worse. I mean, they're missing Marcus Mineta, but I think that it's just the fact that now that losing streak has begun, it's just hurting them a little bit more than they anticipated. And Hamish, what championship games are you covering today? We are going to be doing the next game, Fiji versus New Zealand. Then after that, we've got Bulls versus Leon. And then the game after that will be Stormers versus La Rochelle. We're hoping to cover both of those, unless, of course, I somehow pass out. Nonetheless, we are popping over to the next live stream, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you all in a very short moment.